You're listening to Weather with Enthusiasm. Friday, January 12th. One of the most active winter weather patterns in history continues across the Midwest into the East Coast as the heaviest snow in 3 years starts to bombard the Chicago area. In the past 2 to 3 years, record-breaking low pressure is possible. Later on today, a double-barrel low pressure system develops across the Midwest, a bomb cyclone expected. The next winter storm comes in Monday into Monday night for the Deep South, Memphis, Tennessee, parts of Arkansas. Cincinnati a little bit too far north right now, but they will be impacted. Parts of the snow may come to the Baltimore area, and if they don't get snow from that, there's a coastal low that develops off the North Carolina coast. This would bring the end of over 700-day snow drought in Baltimore. This will allow children to finally see what snow is, what their parents and grandparents have been talking about all along. I wish everybody a wonderful Shabbos and stay safe. Have lots of fun. We will now hear more details about how these storms are going to be affecting the Chicago, some of the southern states, and the mid-Atlantic area, including Baltimore. Stay tuned. It's really exciting. What makes this storm totally phenomenal, besides the fact that it's happening, this weather pattern change happened on the day of the new moon, which is when the gravitational pull is the strongest, or in the Hebrew months, it's the first day of Shvat, which we spoke about in the past. What also makes this phenomenal is the uncertainty of the forecast. In fact, I'm going to read to you something from the National Weather Service of Chicago, which basically says they are... You'll hear what they say over here. It says, with the morning update, opted to maintain the going forecasts in our gridded database to avoid flip-flopping. Meaning the forecast needs to be updated. It really does. But the problem is if they update the forecast and then there's a chance they're going to have to go back to the original forecast. So it sounds unprofessional. That's a flip-flop. So to avoid flip-flopping, they refused to update the forecast. Therefore, the only place you could find out the true forecast right now is the forecast discussion from the National Weather Service. It's not what they're broadcasting in public. Totally amazing. So with that, we're going to have to read straight from the forecast discussion. With the morning update, we opted to maintain the going forecast in our gridded database to avoid flip-flopping. Though adjustments may become required by this afternoon as trends evolve. So the moment they gain confidence that it's not going to have to be a flip-flop, that's when they will flip. The forecast needs to be flipped, but they don't want to flop it. So there we have it. As trends evolve and the rain-snow line becomes evident, including potential moving away from additional wintry impacts across a sizable portion of the forecast area. However, we did opt to downgrade the LaSalle, Kendall, Grundy, Will, and Southern Cook counties from a winter storm warning to a winter weather advisory now that the morning thump is over. And we certainly had a morning thump, at least around here. In fact, there's very good reason to believe that thunder was reported. It was included in the forecast suddenly out of nowhere, thunder, and it had that look like there were thunderstorms. I didn't hear thunder, but for now we will maintain the southern parts of the area of the winter weather advisory that goes into effect this evening. That's for Livingston, Ford Lake, Indiana, and Porter counties. We're going to get to Baltimore in just a second, by the way, if the people are listening and they're interested in Baltimore, and we'll get to Memphis, Tennessee, some Arkansas. We will consider making a pretty sizable adjustment this afternoon as trends evoke. Now we go into, we're going to skip a few crucial things that we should not be skipping, but we're skipping it anyways. And we'll read this paragraph over here because this is unique. This paragraph will tell us how unique the current storm system is. Early this morning, says the National Weather Service, Friday morning, January 12th, we're watching a double barrel, quote unquote, low pressure system. You don't see those words too often. A double barrel low pressure system with one low over the southern Missouri area and a second low over western Arkansas. We're going to see that second low, and the phone just shut down. So that takes care of that. I'm not able to read the rest because the phone turned off. So I'm just going to explain it. The second low is going to become the the main low pressure system in Arkansas, and that's the one that's going to go through it's going to bomb out. It's called abomogenesis, and they point out clearly this is something that's common by nor'easters. It's not common here in the Midwest, but we're going to have it in the Midwest nonetheless as the barometric pressure drops 28.9, 28.8, 28.7. These are things that we speak about sometimes in forecasts. Sometimes they're forecasted to happen, but they never do. Well, right now we're just hours away of the system, and it's still forecasted to happen. So at the same time, we see that there could be a downgrade in certain winter precipitation this afternoon as things change over to rain. Winds will lighten up, as we've pointed out in the past, as the storm center becomes closer to Chicago. And now we have to worry about two centers, so we had more of a reason to assume the winds are going to die down. Once the storm passes through, the winds pick up and we have the heavier snow. That's really where the blizzard comes in, and that's for tonight. Frequent blizzard conditions are expected for tonight. Okay, now this isn't quite a storm because just it's consistent with the theme overall this winter of just not being able to forecast accurate forecasts. And even as it goes along, there still is a lack of accuracy. They basically said straight out, what we're going to do is we're going to look out our window, and right when the thump is over, we're going to do this, and when we see the rain snow line based upon what we see, we're going to make adjustments like that to avoid flip-flopping. Okay, fine. That's avoiding flip-flopping. You have to give credit to the AccuWeather as advertised in WBBM, who's saying 4 to 12 inches. They're giving a larger range because there will be a larger range here in the Chicago area. Inspirational storm develops Sunday evening, affects portions of the South, Monday into Monday evening, portions of Arkansas. Gulf moisture gets put into the system. The main inspiration is how far south this thing is going. It will affect places like Memphis, Tennessee, but even more of an impact for portions of Arkansas. Some of it will impact Cincinnati, Ohio as well, although right now the significant snow is forecast to remain probably to the south of Cincinnati. Thursday, November 10th. The morning of January 8th, we had something phenomenal where 49 out of 50 states here had extreme weather warnings, some type of warning or watch, except for one. So you had 49 states out of 50. One state didn't have it. That one state, unbelievably, was North Dakota, the state that many times has so many. You would never think in a million years that North Dakota is the one state that has nothing, but it was North Dakota. This is a weather pattern that has been going on for the past few days already, and it will continue to go on, where there's just continuous weather extremes, which are from one side of the nation to the other. We had blizzard warnings, as we mentioned, which were in effect for the Washington Cascades, but I think really it's a different mountain range over there. The Olympic, I'm not sure on the name of it, but it's closer to the coast, where blizzard warnings are less common, just 3 to 6 inches in that area. More information about this is in the Washington Post. In fact, we'll read it straight from the Washington Post, actually, just a paragraph or so. Up to about 10 inches of snow also fell over Washington's Olympic range, closer to the coast, where a blizzard warning is in effect as well. Another 3 to 6 inches is possible throughout the daylight hours Wednesday before the storm system withdraws to the southeast. Let's go actually straight to the Weather Prediction Center. The agency has taken the unusual step of drawing a level 3 out of 5 enhanced risk, a severe weather, 3 days of severe weather, 3 days in advance, accounting for what it warns could be, quote, high winds and a few strong tornadoes, end quote. The area stretches from near a line from Birmingham to Montgomery, Alabama, east towards Savannah, Georgia, and northeast through the Carolina, Piedmont, south of Raleigh, North Carolina. It's unclear which structure of severe thunderstorms will form. Rotating supercells with a couple of tornadoes are possible, or clustered storms more prone to producing straight-line winds could materialize. Either scenario would be problematic. On the storm's backside, the coldest air of the winter will plunge southward. The most bitter air is forecast to target the zone from Montana to the Texas Panhandle, where temperatures will be at least 30 to 40 degrees below normal over the weekend. I'm going to read to you from the Baltimore National Weather Service. They put this in for the hazardous weather outlook, days 2 through 7. This is Friday through Saturday. This is Friday through Wednesday. This was issued 7:38 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Thursday, January 11th, 2024. There is a slight winter storm threat Tuesday and Tuesday night. If the threat materializes, it may cause travel disruptions. And here's from the National Weather. We're going to go back to that in a second, by the way. But let's just skip over to Chicago for a minute. Issued 3:28 a.m. Central Standard Time, Thursday, January 11, 2024. The heaviest snow is expected north of Interstate 80 with lower totals near Lake Michigan. Strong northwest winds may gust between 40 to 50 miles per hour Friday night, causing significant blowing and drifting snow. These strong winds will also allow for high waves on Lake Michigan and the potential for minor lakeshore flooding, mainly along the northwest Indiana shoreline. Much colder air will spread across the region this weekend and continue into next week, producing dangerously cold wind chills from 20 below to 30 below zero. River ice is expected to rapidly build up on area rivers Sunday into early next week as a much colder Arctic air mass moves into the area. This will bring a threat for ice jam-related flooding on area rivers into next week. Conditions are expected after dark Friday through early Saturday. Periods of blizzard conditions are possible in open areas of northern Illinois, a 30% chance of a true 3-hour blizzard criteria. The winter storm watch continues unchanged from previous forecasts for areas near and north of the Illinois and Kankakee Rivers early Friday through midday Saturday. If trends continue, much of this watch will need to be upgraded to a warning later today. Strong onshore winds off a still mild Lake Michigan will once again cut into snow accumulations near the immediate shore during the day on Friday. This includes near Interstate 90-94 in Illinois and north of Interstate 80-94 in Indiana. Highest impacts along and north of Interstate 80 and away from the immediate Lake Michigan shore. The forecast for this storm system continues to be handled best by the more consistent global forecast models and ensembles, especially the European computer model and its ensemble members. We therefore continue to steer the forecast in this direction. Currently, many of the higher resolution models, such as the High Resolution Rapid Refresh, the North American Mesoscale, and the RAP, continue to be northern and warm outliers with the system, and thus their current iterations are not favored. Strong storm system, which bears a striking similarity to the heart attack snowstorm of December 15th, 1987, will produce major impacts across much of northern Illinois into Saturday morning. Current thinking is that a transient band of intense frontogenetically forced ascent developing within a convectively unstable layer later tonight will support a quick couple-hour period of very heavy snow rates of 1 to 2 inches per hour during the early Friday morning commute. While this period of heavy snow may only last an hour or two, the heavy rates could drop 1 or 3 inches of wet snow across the area through mid-morning on Friday. Following this thump of snow, lighter precipitation rates and lower impacts may ensue for a few hours from mid to late morning into the early afternoon. In fact, warming temperatures into the mid to upper 30s south of Interstate 80 during the day Friday should support a transition over to just rain for a several-hour period. We could even see rain at least briefly mix in with the snow as far north as the Interstate 80 to Interstate 88 corridors into midday Friday as temperatures briefly warm a bit above freezing. Things will change in a big hurry after about 2 p.m. as the deepening storm system, very impressive, sub 980 MB low, tracks northward into northern Indiana. This is expected to induce strong dynamical forcing within what looks to be a very intense deformation band of precipitation along the northwesterly periphery of the surface low and near the 700 MB low track. The current favored track favors this band of heavy precipitation right across northern Illinois into the Chicago metro area. The heavy precipitation rate should favor much of this band falling as heavy, low ratio 8 to 9 to 1 of wet snow, with rates in excess of an inch per hour through the evening commute. While snow will also be favored along the Lake Michigan shore with this period of precipitation, there is some concern that the strong flow off the lake could once again limit accumulations right along the shore through early Friday evening. Snow will continue Friday night into Saturday as colder air begins to spill into the area on strong northwesterly winds, gusts in excess of 40 miles per hour at times. While the initial snow that falls into early Friday evening will be wet and likely not be supportive of blowing around much, higher ratio snow falling in the sub-freezing air mass will support considerable blowing and drifting snow Friday night into Saturday, with near blizzard conditions and extremely dangerous travel likely across much of the area into Saturday, especially within open areas of northern Illinois. The current watch area continues to capture the highest risk area for major impacts well, so no changes are planned at this time. So what we have right now is we have a 30% chance for a true blizzard, putting the current forecast for near blizzard conditions, but 30% chance, 20 to 30% chance for a true blizzard is significant this far in advance. We have in the long term, bitterly cold air will spread across the region this weekend and continue through the middle of next week. Sub-zero low temperatures are expected each morning, Sunday through Wednesday, with the coldest morning possibly Monday morning, with lows in the 10 to 15 degrees below zero range for most of the area. Westerly winds in the 10 to 15 mile per hour range, with higher gusts at times will likely push wind chills into the warning criteria of 30 below for at least a few nights. In fact, if the current temperature wind forecast materializes, it's possible that wind chills will remain below zero from Saturday evening through midday Wednesday for the entire area. A weak system may bring some light snow to areas south of the county warning area Sunday, and the models show various weak impulses moving across the area through the middle of next week. Any one of these could bring some flurries or a chance of light snow, but confidence is very low from this distance. We're just going to skip over to the marine. This was issued 2:05 a.m. Thursday, January 11. A strong area of low pressure will move from south central Illinois Friday morning to central to lower Michigan by Saturday morning, more specifically around the Detroit area. Easterly winds will steadily increase early Friday morning with gales to 35 knots possible, especially across the Illinois nearshore waters. Winds will shift to the northeast Friday afternoon as the low approaches and may diminish in strength for a short time into early Friday evening. As the winds turn northwesterly Friday evening, speeds and gusts will rapidly increase with gales to 45 knots expected and the potential for storm force winds, especially across the Indiana nearshore waters. The strongest winds will likely diminish by mid-morning Saturday, with gusts into the 30-knot range persisting into Sunday. Current gale watch for the Illinois nearshore and storm watch for the Indiana nearshore look on track and no changes planned this morning. Much colder air will spread across the region this weekend into next week, and if the winds remain strong enough, freezing spray will likely develop Saturday night and Sunday. We want to read right now the Baltimore National Weather Service forecast discussion regarding next week's possible winter storm. We read the hazardous weather outlook. We mentioned we're going to come back to this. First of all, here's just a synopsis for the next 7 days in just 3 sentences. High pressure will continue to build over the region. This is for Baltimore through Thursday night before a low pressure system moves through the area Friday into Saturday. And that's the system that's in the Midwest, so Baltimore's going to be on the warm side. A weak disturbance will pass to our north on Sunday night into Monday before another low pressure system impacts the mid-Atlantic area early next week. That's the one that we're going to zero in on. The one which the National Weather Service is saying another low pressure system will impact the mid-Atlantic early next week. High pressure returns to the area by midweek. Let's go to the long term over here. This is Sunday through Wednesday, a much colder pattern ensues to finish out the weekend and into much of next week. In the wake of a powerful upper trough, some residual snow showers are expected on Sunday along the Alleghenies. While the strong surface flow will be well into northern Quebec at this point, overall pressure gradients remain tight enough to keep blustery winds in the picture. Westerly winds may gust up to 25 to 30 miles per hour, locally up to 40 miles per hour in the mountains. Forecast high temperatures generally range from the mid-30s to the mid-40s, while falling into the 20s near freezing across mountain locales. Trailing shortwave energy aloft may keep some additional clouds in the sky. Wind fields slowly weaken into the night, and low temperatures ranging from the teens across the higher terrain to the 20s elsewhere. Heading into the new work week, the synoptic pattern sees a cold upper low situated near the Hudson Bay. Underneath this feature, a series of progressive shortwaves will track from western Canada across the northern U.S. into the mid-Atlantic, while deterministic models are exhibiting inconsistencies from run to run. Some do spread light snow across the entire area early next week. Among the ensembles suits the Zero Zulu EPS is certainly the most bullish when it comes to coastal low formation on Tuesday. Hence, it shows greater snow probabilities across the local area. Given the feature of interest emanates from a complex high-latitude block, much will certainly change in subsequent model runs. One thing that appears quite certain is the coldest air mass of the season will arrive into the region. Daily high temperatures are forecast to fall into the upper 20s to mid-30s, with teens to mid-20s across the mountains. Nighttime lows fall into the single digits for the higher elevations, with teens elsewhere. And just to go to windy.com for just a moment. Hey, we're going to come back to the Midwest, then we're going to go back to the East Coast in just a second. I'm going to announce it as I see it. Low pressure system of 29.48 over southeast Colorado, 9 a.m. Thursday morning. Digs south into the Texas Panhandle by 1 p.m. to 29.4. This low pressure system continues to move south just along the Oklahoma and Texas border and remains at about 29.4 through Thursday morning. The low pressure then moves into the Oklahoma and Arkansas border, continues to be around 29.4 by around early Friday morning, and then strengthens to 29.3 or so by around 6 a.m. Friday morning as it goes into the Oklahoma, into the Arkansas and Missouri border, and then moving into the Cape Girardeau area of the Illinois and Missouri, Mississippi River Valley, that border, as it strengthens to 29.2 at about 8 a.m. Friday morning. This storm system continues to go through rapid intensification and goes to 29.1 by about 11 a.m. as it hits the southern Illinois and Indiana border. It then strengthens to 28.9 as it goes into central Illinois, central Indiana border. That's 2 p.m. Friday. By 4 p.m., it's at 28.86 as it goes into north central Indiana. And by 5 p.m., it's at 29.8 as it remains in north central Indiana and southern Michigan. By 1 a.m., the low pressure is in northeast Michigan, east central to northeast Michigan at 28.74. It remains at about 28.73 as it moves into, I believe it's Lake Huron. That's 4 a.m. Saturday morning. It goes into the 28.8 as it moves into Canada by Saturday mid-morning. Okay, next system, 29.71 off of the North Carolina coast or South Carolina coast, noon on Tuesday, brings snow into the Baltimore area. Here are some of the peak totals through Tuesday night. So Stevens Pass, Washington, 30 inches. Paradise, Washington, 19 inches. Roslyn, Washington, 18 inches. And in Idaho, Elmira, Idaho, 12 inches. You've been listening to Weather with Enthusiasm. This podcast can be found on almost every platform where podcasts are available. The following is a weather trailer. We have two things going on. We have evaporative cooling and we also have dynamic cooling, and the two are coming together to produce a major snowstorm in the deep south. The only time you could blame cold air on climate change is when it's a result of the stratosphere warming, which is what causes all the Arctic air to come down south. The way to get a 6-inch snowstorm here in the Midwest and in the Southern Plains has always been you need 3 ingredients. It's hard to believe the numbers that are being forecasted. Several additional feet of snow is expected by Monday morning. Yes! Okay, we have a special guest on our show. What is your name?
Kitabis.
27.1 barometric pressure. Feet of snow are falling in Japan.
Oh my God.
That's a time of celebration. Just Google Weather with Enthusiasm and they're all going to come up.